Hey, this is Deepesh, and I'm going to talk you through the scaling framework, the strategies that come together, and the concepts around how to scale. And one of the concepts I want to take you through is what I'd call the oceans, boats, and hooks strategy, and how Facebook ads really work. So this is a kind of concept that's kind of helped me to kind of abstract out from the kind of reality of Facebook, the technicalities, and give a sense of kind of how it works in a kind of more creative way, I guess, and kind of works better with my right brain, and essentially just trying to kind of visualize how Facebook ads work. So the way I kind of look at it is the audience that you're looking for is your ocean. So this dotted line around um, the video here, that's my audience. So everyone within that is my audience. So whatever audience you're setting in your ad set, that's my potential reach. So when you look at audience size and you say, 2 million people in the audience, that's 2 million people. Now the boats are the ad sets. And so boats go and they sail in. The size of your boat is the size of your budget. So if you have a big ocean of 2 million people and you have a boat of $5, let's say, and your boat is moving around the ocean, it's a tiny little boat that's kind of looking in the ocean. It's going to take the boat a long time to go through the ocean of 2 million people. Then I look at hooks, and the hooks are my ads, and the hooks are the things that pull out customers. So in this kind of ocean of 2 million potential customers, let's say fish for our illustrative purposes. So you've got 2 million fish all swimming around. It doesn't mean that you are going to be fishing in the right area. Let's say down here there's 6 fish, there's 4 here, there's 2 here, there's 3 here, etc. And even then, not all the fish are going to be hungry enough to take the bait off your hook. So you can throw your hook in there with the worm or the piece of meat or whatever you want to throw in there, and you can drop it into the ocean, and you could be fishing around here for some time, but you might not end up finding any fish, and you might kind of look at that audience and say, you know what, I'm going to give up. It's not obviously not a good audience. Reality is, if you'd shifted your boat just slightly and dropped your hook there, it might have worked. And this is kind of how ad sets and kind of audiences come together, that whenever you are kind of looking at your audiences and your kind of ad set is floating around in the audience, the budget defines how much of the ocean the ad set can cover, but then your optimizations, your campaign objective, etc., then define how well your ad set is placed. So for example, if you're running a reach campaign, so a reach campaign will say to Facebook, I don't care, I just want as many people to see my ad as possible. That boat will just zoom around everywhere and it will just flash the hook everywhere. It may not actually catch any fish, but who cares? You just want impressions, and so you can kind of flash a hook around the ocean. And that's kind of how it works with something like the reach campaign. Now, when you're running website conversion, what you're telling your little ad set is, hey, look, I want to kind of find the right audience that are going to buy. Now here, we've got 6 fish, but actually they're not hungry. These guys are not hungry either. The hungry fish are down here. So the website conversion says, right, what do you want me to do? And you say, I want purchases. So you select the purchase optimized pixel. And so your boat is directed down here. Despite there being more fish here, they are not going to bite. They are not hungry. They've just had breakfast, lunch, dinner. They're good. Don't worry about those guys. These guys here, they haven't eaten. They are waiting for you to drop your hook in. So this is how it works with website conversion, is you direct your boat over here. Obviously, the more budget you put, the bigger the chance of capturing the right customer and capturing more as well. And then you kind of drop your hook in, and that's your one ad to say, hey, here, come and buy this, or come and eat this if it's for fish. And then you kind of hook that fish out of the ocean. So that's kind of how I illustrate how audiences come together, how ad sets and ads come together as well. Now, if you take this kind of view, the campaign objective is what gives your boat the kind of momentum, the direction, the velocity, the vector essentially of kind of the direction of where it's going and how fast it's going as well. And so you're kind of looking at focusing on your customers, and depending on what objective you pull out, that's what Facebook will deliver to you. And so going back to the example, let's say this is an audience size of 2 million. It may be that there's only 50,000 people who are actually going to be my ideal customers. That's where I want to be fishing. Why is it that so many fail to scale? And I think a lot of it comes down to not understanding how audiences are put together. So in this example, you have an audience of 10 million people. It does not mean you have 10 million people who are going to buy your product or download your app or give you an email address. It just means that you've found 10 million people who might be the right people that you're aiming for. So that when you overlay something like the website conversion objective, what that tells Facebook is, I want people who are going to buy. Let's say you're setting your optimized pixel to purchases. So all of a sudden your 10 million audience has become a lot smaller. And then you might say, throw in some video views, some clickers, so traffic campaign engagers through page post engagement. They're all working in different parts of the audience. So of your 10 million, there's a big proportion which are page post engagement people that just generally like, share, a comment on ads. They're passive, life's good for them. They just scroll the newsfeed and they're not really interested in buying, but they may buy. And this is where the crossover is. So if you have a purchaser and you have a engager, there's a crossover, and there's crossovers everywhere. The fact is that when you have an audience, there's different people within that audience, and there will be people that fall into both. So, I look at videos on the newsfeed. I also buy off the newsfeed, and I also like and comment occasionally as well. So I might fall into this particular section here. And this is why when it comes down to campaign objectives, I often test running multiple campaign objectives together. So, for example, in my retargeting ads, I will quite often test a website conversion objective alongside a traffic objective. Now, generally, I would say don't use traffic and don't use reach for cold audiences because that'll just send trash over to you. So the analogy I use is if you're using a reach campaign or a traffic campaign, Facebook doesn't care who it sends to you. So it will literally just throw customers at you and say, hey, take these, take these, take these. It doesn't care who they are, whether they're going to buy, whether they're good for you, it doesn't matter. They want your money. Give me your money, I'll give you a customer. That's all Facebook is saying. Now if you say, I want a website conversion objective, or I want a mobile app install objective, and I want customers, now Facebook is having to think a bit harder. And that's where the algorithm comes in, the auction, the pixels, the bidding, all that kind of stuff. And it's now thinking, right, so you're telling me that you want to run a website conversion campaign, and you want people who match people who purchase, and you want people to hit that purchase event. Well, you know what? I don't have as many people as you thought. I don't have 10 million, but here, look, here's a million, and I will guide them across. I will make sure that they come to your site, that they add to cart and they purchase. So now Facebook is trying to handhold that person or that customer through to coming on your site and purchasing. So now all of a sudden Facebook cares. They want you to have purchases. Now, within that kind of example, it's probably losing out on people because it's coming up with its kind of models on who it thinks are going to buy. It doesn't mean that if you're not in that kind of pool that you're not going to buy. It doesn't mean of the 10 million people, these are the only people that are going to buy. Facebook can't 100% tell you that. They will have a high propensity of knowing that these people buy, this is what time they buy, these are the products they buy. There is a ton of data to suggest to Facebook that these are the right customers. And this is why website conversion campaigns work so well. But also do think about the other objectives and how they can complement as well. You can also do a test within the website conversion campaign. So this is what I'm doing a lot more now is, for example, if I have a really small audience size, a few thousand, let's say, of hot prospects that have added to cart, and I want to test my purchase objective, and I'm not getting enough conversions, and maybe I test the add to cart or view content. Also, what I'm doing is using my website conversion, but also testing for impressions and trying to get as many impressions for that small audience as possible, because all of a sudden I have 2,000 people in that audience who have added to cart. That's a super high intent that they are literally one step away from buying. I just want to get my ads in front of them. I want to convince them to buy. And so I don't want Facebook to be hand-holding people. I just want Facebook to throw everyone over. Every one of that 2,000 audience is relevant to me. So I want as many people as possible. And also it kind of works with video views as well. So higher up the funnel, I've had success testing a website conversion campaign with video views alongside it as well. And there's two things that video views do. One is if you've got really good video, it will capture a wider audience. Two, it will allow you to retarget people that have viewed a percentage, and you can do that in the purchases campaign as well, but you get broader access as well. But also, thirdly, if you're running it together in the same audience, it can help to create a bit more of a brand effect, a brand experience. So someone might see a video ad in the video views campaign and then maybe see your direct response ad in the purchases campaign. So it allows you to get the best out of it as well. And quite often the same works within a page post engagement and purchaser campaign as well. So if you've been through the graduation strategy, you will have seen some of the screens where I've been running tests with page post engagement, and actually some of the ads and audiences have actually delivered sales as well. So just because someone's in a page post engagement objective, it doesn't mean they're not going to buy. It just means there's less chance of them buying than a purchaser's objective, because Facebook have pulled those purchasers out and know explicitly that these are the people that are more likely to buy. It doesn't mean these are the only people that are going to buy. And also the final point on that I want to absolutely stress is people move between different phases as well. So let's say, for example, I'm the target market for a company that are selling, a high-end car, for example. They want to target purchasers, and they're looking at data from Facebook and their lookalike audiences, etc. In any given day, in any given ad that comes up, I can actually flick through these different, or I can actually flip and flop through different audiences. So for one particular advertiser, I might just fall into the engagers because of, for example, the type of product or even the time of day. Facebook know, for example, that you as an individual person, what's your browsing behavior? What's your buying behavior? When are you more likely to buy? When are you more likely to just interact and maybe click and disappear? One thing to just kind of reflect on is the Facebook pixel is not just on your website, it's also on your competitors' websites and other websites as well. So Facebook, when they're building up a profile of you as an individual person, they know which websites you've actually visited, when you've bought, which products you've bought. We're pumping all of this data to Facebook. We're getting dynamic product ads, and we're sending our basket values, our product names, etc. Facebook are collecting all of this data, so they know that last week you bought a new MacBook, a few days ago you bought some headphones. Obviously, if the Facebook Pixel is installed on those sites, and it starts to build a profile up of you as well. So the algorithm is pretty clever at knowing which of those objectives are more likely to be relevant to you as a user at one particular given point in time as well. Now, going back to the kind of analogy of oceans, boats, and hooks, this is kind of how I take advantage sometimes of the different objectives in play. So if you can recall back, we were talking about one boat and one hook and kind of just moving around in the auction. Part of the scaling strategy that I use is to create multiple ad sets. So if you've been through it already, great. If you've not, there's two key strategies I look at for scaling, which is V scaling and H scaling. V is increasing your budgets. H scaling is duplicating your ad sets. So why would you do that? Is to increase your chance of finding the best audiences. So in the same analogy, if I've got the same audience and I'm duplicating my ad set, I'm creating more boats in the same ocean as well. And my hooks are my ads. So for example, the hook, you could literally duplicate the same ad. You can have the same ad sets running. You could also then make a change. This is something which I also do where, for example, when I make a duplication, and you'll see this in the scaling strategy, I might apply a manual bid and so do some testing to try and find different bandings for manual bidding and to try and find more profitable audiences. I might also split by placement or by device or by gender. So for example, if this was my 10 million female audience and I was selling a facial beauty product, now I might split the winning ad set further into women 2040 and women 40 plus and start to create smaller audiences. So now rather than a big 10 million, I've got maybe a 4 million and a 6 million, and I'm deploying my ad sets in there to try and make my hooks, my ads more relevant as well. So this is kind of a primer for the strategies that are coming up, especially when it comes to scaling, so that you understand the concepts. of why people like myself will duplicate the ad sets. And I'm not saying that this is the best strategy, but it's certainly one that can support scaling. There are downsides to it, and you'll come across that in H scaling as well. But you can also duplicate your ads as well. And this comes back to, if you've gone through the graduation framework, that sometimes when you throw your ad into the ocean, Facebook doesn't always find the best customers, and you can sometimes duplicate that and find good performance as well. So you can, for example, take a winning ad, duplicate it 3 times, and let it run in a single ad set, and you'll often find the performance differs as well. So that's just something to bear in mind. And that's kind of part of scaling. So if you've got multiple audiences, you've got multiple ad sets, multiple ads, that's a big part of scaling out as well. So especially when you're looking to scale fast, this is one of the fastest ways of scaling.